So, the third episode of Worst Ex Ever shifts into one of the most disturbing cases in the series, focusing on Joyce Louise Pelzer and the chain of violence that begins years before her final arrest. It's a story that starts with control and manipulation in relationship and escalates into multiple murders, with one surviving partner, Katie Long, eventually becoming the key to exposing the truth. The earliest known victim was Shondell, who disappeared in 2011 in Lithuania, Georgia. At the time, she was living with Joyce, a relationship that had already turned toxic. Friends and family described controlling behavior, repeated cheating, and escalating aggression. When Shondell tried to leave, Joyce refused to accept the breakup. The situation worsened with stalking, harassment, and eventually a restraining order, but even that did not stop her. According to the investigation presented in the series, Joyce escalated from harassment to planning a targeted attack. Shondell was kidnapped on her way to work and taken to a remote wooded area. There she was killed and buried, a crime that initially left investigators with little physical evidence. For years, the case remained difficult to solve with no body recovered and no immediate confession. 6 years later, Joyce entered another relationship, this time with Rosalind Lewis. Like before, the relationship began with intensity but soon became unstable. Rosalind experienced similar patterns of control and emotional abuse. When she eventually attempted to leave and file for divorce, Joyce reacted with anger and renewed fixation. What follows was a calculated act of violence. Joyce lured Rosalind to a motel under the pretense of signing divorce paper and stabbed her multiple times. Rosalind survived long enough to identify Joyce as her attacker, which became a crucial piece of evidence. At this point, Joyce was already under increasing suspicion, and the case took a turning point through her relationship with Katie Long. Katie had initially been drawn into Joyce's life without full awareness of her past. Over time, she began noticing violence and controlling behavior similar to what had been described by her previous partners. The situation changed dramatically when Joyce confessed her involvement in Shondell's disappearance, not as a moment of remorse but as a warning meant to assert dominance over Katie. Instead of remaining silent, Katie cooperated with law enforcement. She recorded key conversation and provided critical testimony that helped connect Joyce to Shondell's murder and Rosalind's attack. This corporation became central in building a legal case that could finally hold Joyce accountable for the full scope of her action. After Rosalind's murder, Joyce attempted to flee but was stopped following a police pursuit that ended in a confrontation. She was injured, taken into custody, and later faced trial. She pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including malice, murder, and aggravated assault related to Rosalind Lewis, receiving a life sentence. Separate proceedings later confirmed her involvement in Shondell's murder, resulting in an additional life sentence without parole. Today, Joyce remains incarcerated in the Georgia Department of Corrections, serving 2 life sentences. The case stands as a grim example of how repeated warning signs, when ignored or unaddressed, can escalate into irreversible violence. For Katie Long, her role in coming forward ultimately helped prevent further harm and ensure that the full extent of Joyce's crimes could no longer remain hidden. Thank you for watching. Bye.